What's up, squad? It's Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, first and foremost, Happy New Year's. I wish you a blessed and abundant new year. And may all of your goals fall in line for you and you end this year on a high note. I wanted to talk about a story I came across though. Recently, Ukraine, as of New Year's, have stopped Russian gas inflows to Europe. Now, Europe has historically known for being addicted to Russian gas, especially countries such as Germany. And Russia has contributed up to a third of natural gas supply going into Europe. Now, Nord Stream has already been cut, and it seems as though these pipelines are being collapsed north to south because now Ukraine is cutting these supply pipelines of gas, natural gas to Europe, in hopes of breaking the Russian economy. And you still have some pipeline, but now they're controlled by Turkey, and it's limited capacity. And this is going to be Turk Stream, some pipelines going through the Black Sea region. So, reason why that story was important was for a couple of reasons. One, it highlights the pressure that the West is putting onto Russia. Right now, the only real lifeline you have to say is China and India. And the West doesn't want to ruin those relationships because those two countries are very important, but it's going to be a game of how can they ramp up pressure. Obviously, this is going to be through technology and licensing. Ramp up pressure on China and India to try to put enough pressure on Russia to collapse the regime. Remember, I made a video. I call this a strategy of bear baiting, where the West is using a bunch of small dogs or a bunch of dogs to take on a big bear. And this was an old brutal British sport where you have a series of dogs that basically fight a grand strong bear, but it defeats them through exhaustion. They fight the bear to exhaustion, to the bear cannot withstand the fight any longer. And this is what's going on with Russia as the pressure continuously ramp up, whether it's blowing up Nord Stream, whether it's Ukraine, whether it's a collapse of Syria, Assad regime within Syria, etc., etc., etc. So another thing I wanted to point out of this reminds me of an interview I watched where there was a gentleman and he was contrasting the difference between two hip hop moguls of my era, Jay-Z and Dame Dash. They were founders of Rockefeller Records, which at the time they were a phenomenal record company, and like so many at that time in their era, they seemed on top of the world. And since then, they broke apart. Now, some people say Jay-Z turned out to be more successful. I wouldn't say this. They say it's because he's a billionaire. But I wouldn't say this because I understand that success is a very subjective term. And a person you may deem to be successful is actually living like do not feel successful themselves. And the point of this is a lot of things we do is to give you the game, lay out the world and how it exists, but you can define for yourself how you see success. Nevertheless, these two gentlemen went their opposite ways. And in this interview, he's contrasting Dame Dash style to Jay-Z style. And he said Dame Dash style was he always wanted to be in control. He wanted to be the boss. And to do so, he had to use his resources. And so using his resources, nobody could check him. Nobody can control him. Nobody could mute him because he ran the whole operation. Whereas to contrast that with a Jay-Z who looked for partnerships and he utilized those partnerships. And in utilizing those partnerships, you have to concede some autonomy, right? If you want to put up your money and put on a show, it's your show, Dame Dash. If you want to do a performance at the show, come and collect a check and get the heck out. They might tell you what songs you have to sing. They might tell you what kind of outfits you have to wear. So it's all about perspective of what you find valuable. And as the gentleman's contrasting their styles, I think the true problem is not Dame Dash and Jay-Z. Because at the end of the day, I think they both wanted the same thing. Their true issue is they weren't able to reconcile with each other. So now they have been split. And they can't reinforce each other. I draw a simile with this relationship, with this dichotomy of points of view with Europe. If you look at Europe now, a lot of people are complaining. It's grown old. It's grown toothless. it's grown, some would say, even less European to some degree with the large migrant influxes. Like they're you losing what they would consider a sense of their Europeanness in their eyes. Some Europeans feel this, and there's a lot of backlash. You're getting a lot of right wing movements in Europe because of this seemingly lost sense of identity. But I would root all of this, right, in Europe having an inability to reconcile its issue. If you look at since the formation of I was going to say since the formation of nation state, but you can go all the way back to the Peloponnesian War. Europe, in its essence, has been at war with itself, and in this for numerous reasons. Primarily, it's on a small, relatively small, finite peninsula where competition for resources were fierce. This has been Europe's greatest strength because it had created a sense of urgency and innovation that is very, very rarely rivaled in other parts of the world. But it was also its weakness because the European, except for small pockets in history, I don't want to say small, but pivotal pockets in history, such as defending Austria from the Ottomans or pushing the Moors out of the Iberian Peninsula, um, those moments that allow some type of unification in these cases under the church, the Catholic Church, outside of these instances, Europe has been at war with itself. Like you call them world wars all you want, but they're really European since European civil wars fought on a global front. So this comes from Europe's inability to reconcile with each other. And these different countries are very faceted. And of course, you can say that the role of Loki, the disruptor, the person that constantly ensures there's discord on the continent of Europe, you can historically say that may have been the United Kingdom with their balance of power strategy until they could do it no more. And then what did they do? What did the British do? They brought in the Americans. But I want to contrast these style. But this is the problem with Europe, right? This is their weakness. And now these other countries are starting to surpass them as they start to develop. And I think about a Dame Dash model, which I will call National Socialism, right? Because that's really what it is. For us, by us, doing for us, right? And if you remove all the dictators and all the heinous things that are in the bright lights associated with National Socialism, fundamentally, National Socialism is a concept that the people that have our benefit, the highest benefit or the highest intention of benefit for us is us. And we as a people within a nation should work together to achieve that. It's an indebted society to the society as a whole, intrinsically, nationally, right? Contrast that, and I think National Socialism, when I think about this, about us doing for us as a collective whole in any country, I contrast that with a more liberal mindset, which you would call Jay-Z. The British partner with everybody. There's no place the British have not went, and there's not a mixed race group of people from the British having wives and building lives and setting up camps. And they've done this all throughout the world, whether Australia, South Africa, North America. It's many British communities all across the world on a significant scale. Not only did they do that, but they moved Scots there, they moved Germans there, in numerous places, just because Britain was the largest colonizer. But I say this because this is the Jay-Z model. They saw an opportunity. They needed to partner with the local people and they need to build infrastructure and trade there. And they said, we don't care who you are. This is the British Empire. The sun never sets on the British Empire. And that's why you contrast these two models, this British imperial Jay-Z model with this national socialist model, which is all about the people, which is more Dame Dash. And you have to know that the fundamental problem of Europe is we were not able to reconcile, just like the fundamental problem of Jay-Z and Dame Dash weren't able to reconcile. And if they could have created something even more powerful, more beautiful, if they knew how to play off each other's strength and they had that patience. And the same can be said for Europe. But just like Europe, they felt there's only one model. There was only more room for one model. Now, I will tell you a country that was able to marry these two models. The model of we need to protect and do for ourselves, but we need to partner in opportunistic manners. and that is the United States. I always say United States is one of the greatest geopolitical societies in the history of the world. And a lot of that goes along to geography. America never ran out of bountiful land. So as America settled, you got to see that America had 2 wars with the British, right? This is, we want what's best for America. This is a National Socialist Act, right? But after these wars, Revolutionary War, War of 1812, what's the first thing America does? It goes back and befriends the United Kingdom, right? This is where you get that Jay-Z model of opportunistic partnerships, right? And what America did is it feeded. It used the markets in Europe to invest in America, to grow America. And as it grew America, it opened the door, bringing in more migrations, therefore making it more stronger to do for America to sell to markets overseas. Now, this is really interesting, right? And now America became a very wealthy and powerful country. Is now Europe is turning into kind of like a military outpost. It's lackluster, it lacks vigor. It's these markets with the kind of the gas flows to Eastern Europe. It's only the beginning, but they're going to feel a lot of pain, and they can almost outsource their sovereignty to some degree just to trade with America. And this is highly efficient. There's no way you can say that American gas to Europe is more cost efficient than Russian gas to Europe. But they have shunned Russia because of their allegiance or their compromised position to America. So I really wanted to take that real life dichotomy between those two icons of history in hip hop, Dame Dash and Jay Z, and contrast that to some geopolitics and make it more real, because that's really what it fundamentally are. At the end of the day, whether you're in a Oval Office with high level leadership, or you're just a guy going to get groceries, or somebody going to get groceries, like, people are people, and we have this similar insecurities. We have insecurities. We have egos, and sometimes they get the best of us. This is why we have brains, is to try to balance those pieces out to get an optimal return. So I just thought it was an interesting in view, and we're going to continue to watch as Russia gets squeezed and how Europe reacts. But it's almost the Europe being a shadow of what it once was 300 years ago. And it's almost as though they've outsourced their foreign policy to America, and there's nothing they can do about it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.